we started playing together, the three of us, like late June of 2005, early July. They've been playing together for a lot longer though.
Yeah, like a year or two before that.
Okay.
And I moved out from Boston to play music with them. I grew up with Shane, and I've known both of them for a while, so.
It's him.
Yeah, I moved out just to play with them. We started playing in June or July. We didn't really play any shows until around November, December 2005. That's when we started putting stuff out too. So there was a lot of just playing at home before we really started playing out at all.
Basement band for a while.
Yeah.
Had any of you done anything formal as far as music before?
Yeah, I've been playing in bands since I was like 12 or so. I've been in a couple other bands. Did small tours and 7 inches in the Boston area, stuff like that. I kind of always been playing music, even if I wasn't playing in bands that were playing out at the time. I'm always recording.
You played in other bands before. I mean, were they similar to what Lambsbread was doing, or is this entirely different?
Well, sort of. I played in a couple bands, like the 2 or 3 years before I moved out, that were somewhat similar. I mean, one of the things I did was more based around like, I don't know, I guess you could say like total improvisation or something. We used, keyboards and tapes and things like that, besides just, guitars and drums. And then, there was other bands I was in that were kind of, kind of the same, not the same thing we're doing, but similar, kind of like a Destroyed take on rock and roll. That kind of sounds like it's falling apart and pretty noisy. But me and Shane have been talking for a while on the phone about what we had wanted a band to sound like, and I think we knew at some point we were going to get together and play and do something. So I guess there was kind of a lot of talk that went into the band, even though we didn't know that that's what it was going for beforehand, for the few years before. But I mean, yeah, I think some of the other bands I played in were similar, not exactly the same, but I mean definitely similar. You can hear some of the same things for sure.
So when you started playing music together, did you know right away that it wasn't going to be something quite so traditional?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at first it was even less traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah, at first it was much more its own thing. I think now it sounds a bit more traditional, but yeah, I think we kind of approached it, even though we had talked about kind of what we wanted stuff to sound like. We didn't really approach it with any specific sound in mind. We just kind of, played and kind of let whatever happen. Almost you play and then you learn kind of from what you played before. You start trying to emulate that kind of, just, build your own thing. But we definitely just approached it with the, we'll just play and whatever happens, we'll try to work with that.
Right. I mean, you mentioned, you started putting stuff out almost around the same time you started playing, and you've put out like quite a few CDRs,
yeah.
I guess, and you've been on various tapes and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just wondering how the recordings relate to what you do live. I mean, do you?
What we do, it's the same exact thing. We don't. I think when we record at home, we tend to be a little bit more mellow about it, and I think we think a little bit more. We play a little slower, and when we play live, I think we get really amped up and excited to play live, and they come out different, but the process is kind of still the same thing.
Yeah, I think we approach it the same way, but I don't think they sound alike really. I think at home it's much more
relaxed.
Yeah, we let things develop much more. I think live we've been kind of doing that lately, but normally live it can just be, we'll play real quick, kind of just let it all come out as quick as we can and as hard as we can, But lately I think the two are sounding more and more similar, but it's always just we kind of record everything we do at home, so we have a lot of different stuff to go through and pick from. we try to play as often as we can, almost every day. So,
is there any intention to try to replicate what gets put on tape?
I don't know if there's a conscious intention, but I think that, I mean, you can't deny that the two are influenced by each other. You know, if you hear, you know, a recording of yourself, I think, you know, you can think, oh, this is what I'm supposed to sound like, you know, whether that's a conscious thought or not, and you kind of learn from it.
A lot of our CDRs are live gigs also.
Yeah, that's
I record
true.
a lot of those and those, so I mean, I guess it is the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, I don't think that they sound that much different, like, at all. I guess, like, they sound different to us, but I don't know if they would sound different to anybody else. But maybe they would. I just think that they, at home, we put mics closer to the drums and closer to the amps. And in a live setting, we get real amped up. But I mean, I guess for the last couple of months, I don't really think that there's been that much of a difference between what we do at home. I think we've been playing so much live lately that, like, we all kind of look for, we like to play together a lot. And I think that, like, more and more it's becoming the time we get to play with each other is like a live setting. So we release more of that stuff now wherever we are, kind of thing.
I just think the one thing about playing at home is we're real, like, comfortable with you know, where it is. We know what it sounds like in that area and stuff. And, like, live, there's still, like, you know, we're still going into a lot of places we haven't played, and, you know, it always kind of has the potential to sound a bit different or test us a little bit more. So I think if anything, what we play at home sounds a bit more familiar, whereas, like, live with all the energy and being in different rooms, we kind of pull out things that are more, like, strange to us, like, oh, I didn't know we actually did that.
Right.
You know.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think people seeing you assume that it's pretty open-ended, but I mean, is it more structured than what people would assume, you think?
Well, there's not really any.
There's debate over that.
I mean, there's not much talk about the structure, but I just think when you play music, you know, very frequently for almost 2 years, like we've been doing, that, you know, a structure definitely erects itself. You know, there's definitely, I think at this point, like, some things that we always kind of do, and we always come back to, you know, certain things we lock into. Yeah. That are real vague in general. I mean, it's not like it's going to be the same chords or the same rhythm every time, but, you know, we'll lock into certain parts. And I mean, I guess we talk about it a bit, but we still kind of, I mean, there still is kind of like, it is real open-ended. There's still a kind of like an anything goes type thing with it for sure. But I just think, you know, as the more we play it, the more familiar it becomes to us. So it seems more structured now, I would say.
We're starting to be able to, like, when we play sometimes, we've isolated certain things that we continually do.
Yeah. And
sometimes, like, one of us will request that we sort of go towards one of those things in a live situation, or like if we're recording for someone. Sometimes we try to make it specifically sound like something.
Yeah. Like with live sets, there's usually not much more put into it besides, like, oh, come in slow, or come in, like, you know, totally, like, in no time at all, like, totally free. But I guess one thing about the recording lately that I didn't think about, like he said, is, like, I guess we do kind of focus sometimes more on, like, oh, we'll do a 4-minute, you know, all slow one, and then, you know, like a 3-minute kind of whatever one, you know, that's about the extent to what it's talked about.
I mean, do you take cues from one another? I mean, do you
No.
No.
I think we take cues, but I don't think they're. Well, I think they take cues from me as the drummer.
Right.
But they're not like cues. They're not like, we don't discuss what the cues are. I just think they
Just
know.
know 'em.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just more from playing with each other. Like when you hear a certain thing, you can kind of all guess.
Yeah, like we've developed kind of a language between ourselves, and, like, I think that some of the motions that I go through while I'm playing signify things that are going to be coming.
Right.
And they both kind of watch that.
Right, and I think even if it's not actually what you're going to do, like one of us going over to that part, you know what I mean? Kind of,
Yeah.
it's a strain. It's a real, like, give and take situation. It's a strange way of playing.
Yeah.
Do you think like the response from audiences is proportional to like how you're playing? I mean, do you think people can differentiate between like if you're what you would consider playing well? Yeah. I mean, do you have times where like people are going crazy and you feel like you didn't play that well, or is it? I mean,
that's definitely happened.
That's definitely happened. I think one thing is you know, since it's improvised and a lot of energy goes into it, people kind of feel the energy. Excuse me, I think it's pretty easy for them too. So, like, you know, I said that we might not think it's too great. I think some people can just get into it, you know, based on, you know, the energy they see putting in, or it's, you know, something that they might not be too used to seeing, so they just like the idea of someone, you know, playing such a retarded version of rock and roll or whatever. But
yeah, I was surprised, like, people don't really, you know, we don't get bad attitudes towards our playing or anything. Like, I thought,
yeah, we
you know,
definitely
in the beginning that I would,
more.
you know, I'm
Yeah.
pretty unschooled,
Yeah, we've hoped to piss on you.
so it's like, you know, I thought that people would just be like, whatever, you know, but I haven't like gotten a lot of that.
Do you think that's a matter of who you're playing with, or, I mean?
No, I just,
part of it, probably.
I do think that the scene we play in is kind of, you know, we're one of the only guitar and drums bands in it, really. So, but no, I mean, I think when we've played shows that are kind of outside of like any sort of genre we play with, we get accepted really well.
Yeah.
Always, we've always kind of expected, you know, at least some people to hate it, but it doesn't usually happen.
Really
it's
happen. At least they
strange.
don't say anything. Maybe they go home and.
Right. I mean, obviously, a big thing for you guys has been hooking up with Thurston Moore and the Ecstatic Peace label. I mean, when I talked to him, he had said that he heard of you guys through John Olson.
Yeah.
Did he contact you, or, I mean, did
Yeah,
it kind of come out of the blue? Were you surprised?
Well, we weren't necessarily surprised, just because we kind of, you know, he's kind of always checking out, like, you know, newer noise bands and stuff like that. So I think we all knew at some point he'd be checking it out. But yeah, he contacted us a lot earlier. It kind of surprised us how early he contacted us. We had just put out a tape on John Olson's label, American Tapes, and he was actually, Thurston was one of like the second or third people to really contact us looking for stuff to buy. And, you know, yeah, Olson was kind of, when he put out that tape, that really helped us out a lot. That kind of...
Olson's helped us out the most, really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Olson has done a real lot for us, you know, as far as...
That's our dog.
Just hyping us up like crazy when we came out, and then, you know, we've toured with him a lot, and, you know, he does a lot for us. But yeah, he's the one who gave out, you know, I think he gave it to us.
He's the one who took us on our first tour. He's the
Yeah.
one who got us our first show out of town. He's done a lot. He put our tape out. Thurston's cool. He's definitely putting our record out. He's definitely like got us to ATP and stuff.
Yeah. How was doing that?
That was crazy. It was great.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was a killer time. I mean, it was awesome that most of the bands there were, you know, all people who were friends and stuff, you know, all American bands, and yeah, it was nuts. It was at like a mall type place.
Is that like an English resort on the water that had like a circus tent that had a mall in it in the middle of it.
No security.
Yeah.
It was really strange. But yeah, it was a great time. I mean, that's crazy that he was able to get so many American bands flown over to Europe and, you know, play with a bunch of bigger bands. And there was a lot of kids there watching all the smaller bands and stuff. Everyone had a great time that weekend. But yeah, that record should be out soon, in like 3 or 4 weeks.
Supposedly.
We got a lot of other LPs coming out too.
What is that? I mean, what's the one for Ecstatic Peace going to consist of?
It's just we recorded it in August.
Wild basement jamming.
Yeah, we did just basement style stuff. It's been in production for a while, I guess.
We tried to record on acid. the recording didn't come out.
Yeah, that was kind of awful.